So to start, I'd love to just kind of ask how it was that you got involved with this project. What's the story of how you got cast in the Toxic Avenger, and what kind of made you most excited to play this character?
I kind of knew Macon Blair. I'm trying to think how it's funny when you do these interviews, you kind of go, well, how did that actually happen? It's hard to remember. But he hit me up, said he was, doing this and had this part. And I read it and I thought, that's funny. That's gonna be fun. Um, the idea of having Peter Dinklage play that role, I thought was fantastic. Um, and yeah, I mean, it all kind of just fell into place, and found myself in Bulgaria during the pandemic, place I'd never been before, with a Bulgarian crew. Uh, you know, Making this bananas movie, and I think it came out great.
Oh, I totally agree. And bananas is a good way to describe it too, which kind of leads into what I was going to ask you next, is the Toxic Avenger has been a franchise since the 1980s because of Lloyd Kaufman. I'm wondering if you were like a fan of these movies, like before this reboot came about, and if you have seen them, was any part of you like nervous at all about how a Toxic Avenger movie would play like in the 2020s? Just because those originals are so gory, they're so off the wall, there's so much wild stuff that happens. What was kind of your approach to like doing a Toxic Avenger now, like in modern day?
Well, to answer your question, first, I did not. Of course, had heard of the movie, heard of some of the other trauma films, but that that wasn't the time in my life when I was really watching those kinds of movies, I guess. So um, maybe I was too old, or I don't know. So I kind of missed that whole thing. But of course, I went back and revisited, and I was really kind of knocked out, not only by the movies, but just by the combination of independent filmmaking versus pop culture. Not versus, but including the juxtaposition of pop culture filmmaking. Because a lot of times you think of low budget indies as being serious sort of dramas, and yet what Lloyd was doing was going out and making these movies for a price in New Jersey, and really like just going over the top in a way that, to me, is, first off, it's risky, because a lot of people would say, no. I know probably a lot of people did say, no, this is definitely not for me. But also, it's just it's so it's so fundamentally what I love about movies, in that people can work in all kinds of zany worlds and make something cool and interesting. So, when Macon came to me with the script, um, obviously I went back and I thought, okay, the sweet spot here will be to not disappoint the fans of the original Trauma stuff,
Hmm,
but also make something that holds up now, and
right.
not back too far away from it, and try to make it more accessible, to lean into all of the craziness that was in the original movies. And at the same time, just give it a fresh look. And I think he did a really, really nice job in terms of that.
Oh, sure. I totally agree. And I talked to Macon about a week ago about this movie, and we talked a lot about that bicycle scene from the original movie because it's such a like you remember that moment because it's so like vivid and graphic and like just talking about like can you adapt this like in 2023 or 2025? And he's like, yeah, we can. Like it was indie back then, but there's like an audience for it now. And I thought that was just such a cool take to have like
Yeah,
maybe it was risky, but like people still like that kind of stuff.
I think so. I think so. Well, I mean, I think clearly it's not exactly horror, but clearly horror still finds an audience. I think that bloody comedy is that just made one myself. So I think that I like it. I'm totally into that.
Mm,
I love genre and I love filmmakers like Macon who are working within genre, but doing it with so much skill and also, emotional complexity, right? These characters, the Toxic Avenger, uh, he's got a really kind of deep sort of sadness and struggle,
yeah. Hmm.
that I think is kind of sort of to me feels like the hook of the movie.
Sure.
Um, so yeah.
No, totally, totally. And Kevin, you played villains in the past. I mean, I've seen you in the X-Men movies as Sebastian Shaw, which I love, and you were the bad guy in James Gunn's Super, and even just recently in kind of Beverly Hills, Axel F. How does kind of your character in this movie, Bob, like compare to those type of villains? Like, do you have to, is it kind of more the same thing, or do you have to like kind of hit a certain different level because the tone of this movie is just so up there?
Well, I'd like to think that I hit something different each time, but maybe I'm dreaming. But if I approach a bad guy, I don't think of him first as a bad guy. I think of like who is he? The bad part is just kind of like the byproduct of what the character does. Um, because there's no real way to play evil. You can play hungry, sad, angry, confused, lonely. There's a million things you can play, but evil to me it's too it's just too undefined, to really kind of sink your teeth into. So in this approach, yeah, the tone is certainly big, and I think that Macon encouraged me to go big, and we went big with the look, and with the whole, physicality of it and everything. But I was thinking a lot about televangelists. I
Mm,
was thinking about uh, self-help gurus, people that sell shit that's useless and bleed innocent people of their money. But I was also thinking about the billionaire class and how nowadays billionaires, we know who they are. They're very in our face. They're very like public personas, but that wasn't the case, years ago. They were, hiding in dark rooms and you wouldn't really even, nobody could tell you what, you know, I don't know, I'm trying to think of it, but what so and so looked like, you know what I mean? But nowadays that's not really the case. I think because we live in a society where people are so interested in your own personal brand. The brand is the person as opposed to the brand being the stuff that you're selling, you
right.
know.
Hmm.
And so so you see a lot of these billionaires coming front and center in terms of those were the things that I was thinking about when I was playing Bob.
Oh, sure, totally. That makes total sense, and I totally agree with you. Just one last question for you, Kevin. There was a period of time where after the Toxic Avenger kind of screened at different festivals where it was kind of having trouble finding a distributor, and there was a minute there where it looked like kind of we didn't know if the general public was ever going to be able to see it, but then Cineverse picked it up, and now it's coming out as an unrated movie in the next couple weeks, which is super exciting. How exciting is it for you that people are finally gonna have a chance to like see this on the big screen?
I love it. I love movies. I go to the movies. I that's what I started out wanting to do, was to be on a movie screen. Um, and I've certainly had a lot of great times and a lot of great opportunities on the small screen or on the screen that you watch at home. But to me, movies are the most exciting thing. And so to look, if you work really hard, as everybody did on Toxic Avenger, and it never sees the light of day, that's a pretty um, that's pretty depressing. Uh, Especially when the movie is awesome, you know. So yeah, I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled that it's coming out. I'm thrilled that people are going to get a chance to see it. I think it's great that Cineverse picked it up, and good for them. I mean, obviously they know what they're doing, and I couldn't be happier.